Neither sun nor frost would stray in there. Quang thanked the otter, who left in a hurry to catch his evening fish. Quang wondered, a little wistfully, how things were at home, and whether they were worried about his sudden disappearance. And I'll say they were. When evening came and Quang was nowhere to be found, your grandma was distraught. Mr. Tompkins, the gardener, and myself were sent out to look for him. Mr. Tompkins grumbling something awful under his breath. As for me, I was only too pleased to do any task as wasn't weeding or sweeping. We searched all along the riverbank, through the fields and the woods, a calling and a hollering as we went. We yelled ourselves silly with thought till we were cross-eyed, but we never found him. One thing I'll say for that otter, he made a right neat job of that shelter. We must have walked right past it a dozen times or more, and old Quang must have been sitting in there laughing his great hairy head off. Night came, and then the moon arose, and with that sulky white face of hers, she paced about the sky. Dog gathered some glowworms to serve as lamps, and these filled Quang's house with tiny spots of light. Just made it a little more friendly for one not used to the elements. I'll hang about for a little while till you get used to things, said Dog. Not that I'll ever stop long in one place. I'm a traveller. Here today, gone tomorrow. That's me. All at once there was a rustling and a stirring.
It's the night folk, said Dog. They'll be abroad now. From the river came the sound of frogs singing, their green throats near bursting. A multitude of bubbles and noise came tumbling out. Owl eyes peered down from the trees. The whole world seemed a chatter. Dog sat in the dark wood, and lifting his whiskered face starwards, he sang in a mournful howl. The crickets echoed his song in a chorus, their low chirping voices like the strumming of guitars. Quang sighed, for deep down he knew he had grown too old for change. In the morning I shall go home, he said. He yawned a great yawn and fell asleep. An hour or so later he was awoken by a great trampling and shaking of the earth. Heavy footsteps seemed to make the entire wood tremble. Quang could smell fear. He crouched back into his holly house.
The large boot stopped just by his shelter, and then while he was trying to make himself one with the dry branches, an enormous sack was thrust into the centre of his new home. A rough voice said, "It'll be safe enough in that there bunch, Jim. We can come back for it in a day or two." "As you say, Fred," said another voice. Once more the wood shook with their footsteps. Both Jim and Fred were real baddies. Never could keep their hands to themselves, forever taking what didn't rightfully belong to them. Lord knows why, but there were those fashioned that way right from the start. And as sure as white is white, they had been up to some black deed that night, and thought to hide it in the holly bush. Once Quang was sure the men had really gone, he called Dog, who had been hiding in a ditch. Together they examined the sack. It was certainly bulky. Whatever was in it was hard, and there was lots of it. "Treasure," said Dog. "That's what it is. I've a nose for such things, and I can tell you this. This is something really classy." The two dogs, Dog with the sharp teeth and Quang, his mouth more hair than teeth, pulled and chewed until they made a large hole in the sack. There, just as Dog had said, was a great heap of treasure. It was gold and silver, all worked into goblets and candlesticks, even a sword with jewels all up the scabbard. There were necklaces and bracelets and money, of course, and 4 big bars of gold. Quang's house shone and sparkled like Aladdin's cave.
But what was to be done? Somehow they must get someone to get the treasure back safely
To where it
came from.
How and who? In the end they decided that Quang should stay and guard the treasure, and Dog would go for help, and Dog came for me.